Game key provided free of charge. There's something deeply relaxing about the ocean, and watching marine life, which is interesting when you compare it to the fact that the bottom of the ocean is nightmarish, a void of eldritch horrors and Lovecraftian nightmares made manifest. Is anybody else terrified of what might lie beneath in the deep, deep dark? Just me? Okay, great. Well, on that line of thought, welcome to the ocean, sucker. I hope you brought your diving suit, because we're living down here now and we won't be breaking the surface. Today, we are going to ask and answer the question, what's up with ecosystem? Roll the intro. Ecosystem has been available to buy now since March 2021 in progressive development on Steam and the Epic Games Store. Specifically, this is the beta 0.85 build of the game on Steam. Ecosystem is published by Slug Disco Studios, who kindly provided a game key with the embargo on game footage, expiring November 8th at 3 PM GMT, which should be when this video has been uploaded. The game is styled as an automated colony sim, where you create virtual life forms whose development is shaped by a deep simulation of evolution, simulated DNA, and a whole host of environmental factors as well. So before we get into the overall gameplay though, we're going to take a look at the options and the settings. So you can see here we've got graphics, audio, controls, languages, and credits. So if we look at graphics, it goes native resolution. It can go up to 3840 by 2160, which is the max resolution that I've got on my screens. I prefer to go 1080 myself personally. 1080 master race, let's go. Full screen, you can go on or you can go off. Water effects, so if you go higher, the watery is more watery, and if you go lower, the water is non-existent and everything's flat. If you get a little bit motion sick, it might be an idea just to tweak that down just a little bit. And again, with your FOV as well, I do not like the default, which is 80. I prefer 90. You can go all the way to 40, or you can go all the way to 120, whatever floats your boat, or in this case, does not float your boat. VSync, you can go on, you can go off. Your target FPS is 144 for me. You can go all the way to infinity, or you can go all the way down to 30 frames a second, whatever you like. I do appreciate that it is native. I don't appreciate that you can't just mouse wheel. Your quality, for me, it was all the way to max. If you want to go all the way to minimum, then it basically drops your draw distance down a whole bunch. Not a huge amount, but it turns off pretty much everything else, which will be better on your rig. There's going to be more about your rig as well and how well it manages it. If you're on a modern day system, which I'm not, then it'll probably manage, a medium high very well. Max, it automatically went to max for me, which is a little bit optimistic because I was very quickly maxing out a lot of my kind of system resources, but again, we'll get onto that. So for now, we're gonna go, let's keep it on max just to show you how it works, and we'll go from there. But you do see some stuttering on older rigs, so just be aware of that. Okay, your bloom, you can turn it off, you can turn it on. That's just your sunlight, and your meshes, that'll be for your overall kind of models on plants and everything like that. So let's just leave it on high for now. Audio, you've got your master, your music, your ambient, your effects, your UI, and your creature volume. Controls, fully rebindable. Languages, English, German, French, Japanese, Chinese, Mandarin. All right, so we're going to try a new game. Let's check that out. So you can check your environment. So this right now is a beach. So there's going to be an awful lot of sand. And again, that's quite important. So you have all of these different sort of terrains. So you have rock, you've got pale reef, you have dark sand, and you can literally just change all of these as you go. As you can see there, it just generates all of them for you, which I really like. I think is really cool. You can kind of build an ecosystem the way that you see fit. Now, obviously, if you wanted to just use one of these default ones, you can click on, say, lagoon, for example, and it will build you the base rocks of a lagoon, right? So you have like a little bit of what I assume is gravel, and then you've got like some hard sand or clump or sediment or something like that. And there's some of this mossy rock as well. And it gives you a kind of a springboard to work off of, for example. So let's just hit OK on that. And while we generate, we'll go from there. So you have a tutorial. You can begin the tutorial. You can also skip the tutorial. I would recommend, if this is your first time playing through, just try the tutorial out. It's not really that oppressive. It does let you do things that it doesn't really move you towards. It's more of hints and guidelines than anything else. So I do have an ongoing world that I'll show you a little bit later on, but for now, we're in the new game and we're going to try out different things. So we're staying away from Abyss because nothing good ever comes out of the Abyss. Trust me on that. Okay, all right. So we're in the biome and we will be getting a score based on how good the ecosystem is, how healthy it is, the synergy, how everything kind of works together. That's going to be good, right? So first of all, what we can do is we can build some terrain. You can hit F1 and you can select your terrain type here. So let's say for us, let's do hills. Hills are pretty cool, right? Now you'll also see as well that you can check your terrain and you can actually go online too. And you can load this up. Now I've never tried this before, but I assume, let's say we do Nook's Scranny, for example. How long is that going to take? There we go. All right, so it's actually auto-generating something Nook and Cranny-ish, I guess, which is cool. Very interesting. Of course, if you just fancy doing something else, you can just select your terrain. So in this case, let's go with hills. And what we're doing here right now is we're terraforming. So we're just building hills. That's it. And this is really good. So this does have an effect on your fish and kind of how the ecosystem grows and seeds and develops, right? So some fish prefer to be closer to the bottom of the ocean or the sea. Other fish prefer to go a little bit higher. And depending on how close you are to the sun, some things will grow better than others, right? So you can grow mushrooms, for example. The mushrooms really prefer to have kind of like the seafloor with a nice bit of shade, for example, so that they don't get, bothered by the sun and they can grow better. Let's say you wanted to raise something. You just raise this, and that will just continuously go up until we're done, basically. Or we can place something, so we can replace this, so we can just paint. That's pretty cool. And then we've also got this as well. So this is the watercolor. We can change that specifically. Oh, it feels a bit dark to me. It's, come on, it's not really. It can be deeper too. Very cool. So yeah, these are like your really dark areas, and that's, I suppose, if you want to make like an art piece sort of thing. This is just to smooth things out, so you can just smooth things down, and you kind of get the idea, right? I'm not going to belabor the point or anything. If you've played something like City Skylines or The Sims or something like that, you'll probably be very aware of it. Okay, all right. So your terrain is important, and as the simulation progresses, you then need to start making choices about your plant life and start seeding life. So let's go for some seaweed. And you'll see here as well, all your plants have different terrains that they prefer. Some tolerate these ones, for example, on the Java fern. It tolerates sand, but what it really likes is stone and rock and gravel. So we're going to get a Java fern and we're going to get some seaweed. And again, this gives you bonuses to your ecosystem health. So your seaweed really increases your health based on your plant species and what you've got. So if it's nice and diverse, it's going to get healthier when it's got seaweed in it. Your milfoil, on the other hand, gives you plus 20, minus 1 times other plant species. So if you put this in after the fact, then this will definitely grow a lot better. Your Anubias really likes darkness, for example. And then you got this one, the Congo fern. If there's a current, you can paint on a current as well. So first of all, what we're going to do is we're going to put in some Java fern, right? So Java fern is a really good place to start, and that's just going to grow on these outcroppings. So we're going to put one there, going to put one there, and it's already beginning to seed, and that's really good. Okay, and then this it's reduced for a nearby plant, so we're going to pop that one there too. And over time, that's now going to start propagating, and it's going to start seeding, and eventually we're going to get to the point where put some seaweed on there, seaweed on there. It's going to get to the point where the health of the overall ecosystem in the local area is going to be really high. And that's going to really help us to support some fish and like other plant life and things like that. So you've got these ones here, which are plants. Then you've got this here, and this is like miscellaneous. So at the moment, we've not unlocked anything. I will show you more stuff that I've got on a long-running game that I've got. But this will be like starfish and mollusks and crustaceans and all of that sort of stuff. And then you got coral. Okay, and again, coral kind of like supports reef fish, for example, right? So like clownfish or something like that. Whereas these ones here are like anemones and stuff, so they'll help to generate plankton and that sort of thing. So our ecosystem's looking pretty good. Let's find... There we go. Excuse me. Yeah, let's find us some good soil types. So we want some nice dark areas. That'll be it right there. So the Anubius does not like being in sunlight. It likes to be there. There we go. Okay, cool. So yeah, we've already got the beginnings of a really good start to our ecosystem, which is great. Okay. And as you can see up here as well, so we've got 46 life points. So over time, as you get more stuff growing and your ecosystem gets healthier, you get more life points as well. See, it's just gone up. And you can use that to then unlock new plants and animals. And that'll be like your tech tree. But it doesn't give you a tech tree. It only gives you a choice of 3 separate things. So we'll see what we get after this. Usually it begins with just plants. And then we go on. The secondary environmental growths that you have, so like your corals and your starfish and plankton and things like that, they also move out too, but I don't think they propagate as visibly or as quickly as other things do. So we've got our quick ecosystem. We've just started off with that. That's cool. We're now going to move on to vertebrates. So let's check out our fish, so the creature creation menu, and we'll go from there. Now, it will tell me whether or not I can grow here. I can start growing things, which is great. So you need a minimum of 15 health. I've got 27 health just there. So things are moving on really well. Okay, all right. So you can just default do a procedurally generated forager, and that'll be something that the computer just generates for you. If you want to spend more life points, because it's going to cost 10 life points to do a generated one, you can use save creatures. You can use edited creatures, so you can generate your own creature, or you can download a creature from like the workshop or somewhere like that. We're going to go with the 10 life point forager. And it's basically going to spawn in like a lot of randomly generated fish. And it's going to give us a breakdown of what fish types we've got. So you see here, it goes to misc. Eventually, once they actually grow into from juveniles to actual like progenitor species, that'll then give us an idea of what we've got, but we can go between all of them. So you can see here we have a Camphion, and that one is a progenitor. Its age is like 0.35. It nests. It gives us a bunch of different information. We're going to go into that just a little bit later on. Okay, all right. The evolution and parameters that we've got. So you've got the predation limit, you've got a soft cap for their population, and you've also got hard caps for their population as well. So if it's below the minimum, they'll be automatically spawned in. So as long as there's like 5 or 60 or something like that, that's your hard cap. But 5 is like the lowest cap. As soon as it reaches 5, you get more instantly being kind of like, brought out. If creatures have eaten enough to sustain the population at this above, they'll devote their time elsewhere. So they'll start like exploring, or they'll play, or they'll group together or something like that. Oh, and he's just died. Well, that's less good. Cool. We're going to move to a different one because that was a bad example, obviously. Oh, that one's just died as well. Why are they all dying? Please stop it. I'm trying to show this off. Okay, let's just pause it real quick. So if, like me, your creatures keep on dying, you can do other things too. You can drag them places. You can boost them up so you can give them better kind of like energy or something. But you can also cull them. So if they're bad for your ecosystem, you can just kill them off. You can use this. This is speciate, so you can create a new species. And that each of these costs different life points as well. You can cull the species as a whole if it's all bad. Let's say, for example, you've got predators and they're wiping out all your fish. Just cull them. Get rid of them. But you can also protect them as well. So this is what enables your hard caps and your soft caps, and it prevents them from going extinct. Personally, for me, I like just letting them go on and do their own thing. I think it's more interesting that way. You can retrain the species and reset them to an immature state, focusing on basic swimming. So basically then they kind of get devolved, and then they have to kind of like grow from that point. And then finally you've got forced combat. So I don't really know what this does. I haven't used it yet. I assume that means that they'll just fight whatever it is that they can find. Kind of interesting and pretty good. Okay, all right. So with more evolutionary points that you get, or more life points that you get, sorry, you can then research new fish. So I don't know exactly how many I'll be able to get through here. Let's just try and max this out. Here we go, predators. Okay, so we now have predators, which means that when we go and spawn in, we can either spawn in foragers or we can spawn in predators. But there's predators here. They have default different caps. So you don't want as many predators as you want foragers because they'll wipe out the entire ecosystem, right? But it does also mean as well that it may cause more genetic adaptations and counter adaptations that then happen. So pretty interesting. Let's see if we can get anything else. No, at the moment we're just stuck with pondweed, which is fine. That's okay. We're going to unpause this and we'll just let them kind of crack on and continue doing their thing. Now, I have maxed out the amount of life points that I got, so I can't at the moment bring in predators. But what we can do is we can move on to the current. We can move on to the in progress game that I've currently got going on. But just to give you an idea, the different fish that you then unlock give you different evolutionary parameters as well. So in the other game that I've unlocked blowfish, rays, and eels. Eels can unlock electric shocks. Rays can unlock size and dimensions as well. So they're typically going to be very flat but very wide, because that's what rays are like. Eels, on the other hand, are going to be very thin and very long. And then blowfish can unlock things like threatening displays and venom and that sort of thing. So it can give you a way of kind of protecting the animals that you have in your ecosystem at that moment in time. And then you can further diversify the tech tree that you have with the different life points that you get as well, because the better that your ecosystem is, the more alive it is, and the more it grows, the more you then have to play with. So great. Now we've gone over the basics. We're going to quit out of this and we're going to take a look. Hey, we've just got a new species that's developed. That's pretty cool. So before we go off, let's just take a look at this. All right. Yeah, they look a bit janky too. But you know what? That's just evolution, baby. The simulation that I've got here, I might as well just talk to you right now, is on a Cliffs generated map. And it's probably run for about 3 to 4 hours with occasional input. But otherwise, it's just been running idly. And as you can see, here we go. I've got enough points. I've got lots of points at the moment. And we have a lot of diversity as we go on. So this area here is quite barren. But you can already see I've got sea mushrooms, and they've been kind of growing out as we go. Different types of sea grasses. I've got kelp, bull kelp, and a bunch of other different bits and pieces that we've got. More mushrooms. What else do we have? I want to find something that's kind of interesting to show you guys. Anemones and sponges. Here we go. Yeah, so we've got some red sponges here. We've got some coral that's just kind of growing, and a bunch of different types of plants. As you can see, I've pretty much maxed out all the plants that we have. And we've got really good, really healthy kind of ecosystems going on here. We can also get plankton. So plankton's really good for whales. You've got different starfish, which I don't think really change up anything too much. They're all kind of the same. And they don't actually require any ecosystem health. They're just opportunistic predators, but they do kind of grow and move as they go, which is pretty cool. But yeah, apparently it kind of makes things healthier for the fish. I don't really understand how or why, but it's probably something that I just missed out on. And then your different kind of corals as well. So we've got here is green acropora, and that's really good. Look at that, plus 57 eco health. So we're going to grow one just there. And we're going to see what happens. This should already start ticking up, I'd say. There we go. Look at that. Cool. It's pretty interesting. All right. So that's your local plant life. Let's take a look at some of the fish that we have. So there's one in particular that I'm looking for, and they're coming down a little bit now, but this is the grunchild. This was the first major thing that spawned in, and it's just kind of progressed over time. And these look really different from what they did currently. And I'll be honest with you, it's definitely got a face that only a mother could love. But yeah, it's surviving. There's another one here. This is the other type of grunchild, I think. I don't know why they look so different, but they do. And you can see, yeah, we've got a little bit of chugging. It's doing pretty well for itself. Good for them. Good for them. All right, cool. So yeah, proud of that. I saved it as well. Doing really good. So we're going to follow them about a little bit. You can see they've also got different life stats too. So at the moment it's migrating because I think they've met their kind of soft cap. They have a strong bite, a thin skull. They're weak to slowing venom. So they do actually, every fish here does get its own individual kind of like statistics. This one here is looking for mates. It's called Ronnie. It's vocal, schooling. It's got a strong constitution, but it tells you the species. It also tells you the mating rituals as well. So this one is a mono mater. So it'll only mate with one particular kind of other fish. This one, on the other hand, this grunchild, is a mass mater. So it will literally just mate with everything wherever it can. And that probably helps it because it's got 9 generations worth of ancestors at the moment. So they're pretty strong, they're pretty good, but they are, I think, dying out now, which is a bit of a shame, but, you know, that's just how it goes sometimes. The age is 0.25 of a year. It's got good food. Its rest is quite low. Its fun is quite low, but its curiosity and love is pretty decent. So, yeah, good for them. Survival. I don't actually know how to read survival. It's 0%, so I'm assuming that means it's not good, which is probably what explains why it's dying. Children, on the other hand, as well, it's not had any children. It is a forager, so it is just going to forage on the seafloor. And its visibility is 100%, which is good. That means that the environment is actually pretty decent for it. Then you got this one here. This is a Salion 2. It's also a mass mater. It's got 7 generations behind it. It's getting on a little bit in its age, and its survival is 41%. So I'm assuming that means that it's just good at surviving. Again, another face that only a mother could love, but it looks kind of more fish-like, which is great, I guess. And is also a forager, but it actually has some children. Some of the things that I found... Oh, and also as well, what we're looking at right now, I think, is the camera that we have here is what it's currently looking at, or what it's aiming towards. But it's a schooler. It's fast healing. It's got a protective fat layer, and it's a clumsy attacker. So yeah, kind of interesting. One thing that I did notice is you can also change these stats here. So you've got combat stats, and that'll give you a breakdown of how good it is at fighting. So its protective fat, I think, gives it a higher defense. Its venom tolerance is pretty decent, I think. And its health rating as well is also pretty good. But its energy efficiency is not too great. Now, this is definitely nerd shit. And I don't know exactly how far this goes because the tutorial doesn't really explain it to you. But this is something that I think you just need to play around. And over time, you will develop an understanding. You can also see its mental processes as well. So you've got this one just here. So I don't know what this is. If I had to say anything, I think this is like a visualization of the programming going on behind it. But honestly, I couldn't tell you. You can just do this. And again, like I don't know what it means. What the numbers, what do they mean? I don't know. If somebody, perhaps a developer, could actually tell me what the situation is behind this, I want to say it's probably just the mathematical sort of like formulas behind all of its processes. But yeah, genuinely, I just don't know. Okay, if we really like this, we can also save the DNA of this creature as well. And that means that we will then save it for a later feature, which I'll show you in just a moment. We can also just follow the creature, which is nice. It means that, you know, we're just going to be following it throughout its day-to-day life. And that's cool. We can see there's some fish in the background there. They're mating. That's pretty good. That's good for the species. And yeah, we just go from there. It's pretty cool, right? And then finally, if we really want to change something about it, we can do so. We can increase its venom functionality. We can increase its venom tolerance. We can change its skin color. We can change its actual color. We can change its fin detail and its fin positions and all of that stuff. We can change the diet. We can make it from a forager to a predator if we want to. We can't at the moment. But we can change how it mates. That's pretty good. We can change its head. We can randomize things about it. We can do all sorts of stuff. It's honestly it's so in depth. It's crazy. But I think it's really cool. It's really good. Okay. So anyway, enough of me waffling. I think we've gone on with this quite a bit. One thing that I do want to show you though is just the tech tree. So let's exit without saving. And then we're just going to have a look at what we can get left. So we have precious coral. We have coral fish. And then we also have bilatria. So this one unlocks symmetry options in evolutionary parameters. The fact that we can get bilateral symmetry now is, honestly, that's just crazy. And Basically, this goes to show that what we're kind of working with at the moment, these are like the prodigal soup, you know? A lot of these creatures are not symmetrical, and that's not always that good at it. They'll be very clumsy at moving, then they're not going to be particularly good at actually getting around. Whereas if we get a bilatria, for example, let's grow this. Let's do this right here. There we go. And we can enforce the bilateral as well, I think. I don't know whether or not... Oh, and enforce radial too. Let's do that one too. Oh, wait, no, we can only do both. All right. So a new species is growing in that area. Oh, knocked it up. All right. Let's do it in this one instead. There we go. And we can see what we end up with. There we go. I think we might actually have our first symmetrical fish. Look at that. It is upside down, but, you know, that's all right. He's trying. Bless him. Yeah. All right. Look at that. That's real cool. That's Danielle. She's exploring. And she's a forager. You love to see it. Okay, and then our other coral fish, what we got here? One's a bit different. Okay. I think it might have died as well. Oh, and this. This is something out of the abyss. This is horrifying. Okay, yeah, that's your predator. And that's just not nice. That's not nice to look at all. I don't like those fish. No, we're going to get rid of them. In fact, yeah, we're going to use this one. We're going to cull this one. This was an affront against God and nature. Cull the species. Yes. See you later, mate. Get him out of here. We don't want that. None of that abyssal nonsense. Absolutely not. Finally, I'd just like to cover the data-driven analytics and all of that stuff. Ranking in history. So, yeah, you've got your all your nerd stuff, so you can see all your different lists of species. We can also include your extinct species as well. We still have a grunchild left. Or grunchilid, sorry. But we can click on this. So this is your species view, and we can see how it's evolved over time. So I'm pretty sure this is your common ancestor just over here. Maybe. Oh, wait, no, that's not your common ancestor. Which I guess would be going up to here, for example, I assume. But that's your phylogenetic tree. You got your different populations as well. So the population has severely dropped off about here. At one point, we had 57 grunchilids, which is pretty good. I always thought that they were grunchilds. That's my bad. All right, cool. But yeah, that's how you can show all your extinct stuff. This is your different species as well. So you can change your predation limit. You can change your soft caps. You can cull them just on here as well, just at a glance if you really need to. And you can see your global log. They're laying eggs. They're eating some stuff. They're dying of old age. They're eating some more stuff. And then your ranks as well, your different animals that you've got here. So there's Alan. He's a parchilid. He's exploring. He's got a lot of energy. And we can boost him if we really want to, just to see what happens. Devora, number 2, grazing. And Alison is exploring. So yeah, it's definitely quite deep. Originally, I didn't know whether or not the plant population could actually grow as well. Obviously, I know that the plants themselves can grow. I didn't realize that that also included things like your mushrooms, your sea anemones, or anything like that. But as we can see here, over time, they are growing and they are developing, which is really cool. It's really good to see. I especially didn't know plankton as well, because plankton is absolutely required to manage whales. And you can get whales. You can get squid as well. I didn't realize that. I am interested to see just how far along we can actually make this work. But at the moment in time, I don't think that my PC can really deal with anything quite that strenuous at the moment in time. So yeah, that's that. We have to choose one of these as well. That's something that I don't like. You can't back out from your life tree. You have to just stick with it. So let's just go with Predator and then we'll go from there. We have 7 life points left. So I might play this a little bit later on. I think this would be interesting, but that's that so far. So yeah, we've covered these features in depth. And personally, I think this game is very impressive. The amount of thought that's gone into individual creatures and how they work together is clearly very high. And I'm especially interested in the analytics that you can run as well for the simulation. I think it's really cool. I'm a big nerd. I do enjoy a nice, good, data-driven game. It's pretty good, right? So now that we've covered everything, the only thing that I have left to show you is the aquarium. This is the aquarium. You can move between different ones. This is the... You can edit the snack as well, which is pretty cool. So at the moment, I've only got a grunch lid in here. Look at me, so derpy. This is... Oh, God, which room is this one? I honestly don't know which room this is. I think this might be like the cliff one, I want to say. So you can see here, you've got a bunch of different red sponges and everything like that. So these things will grow in an aquarium that's specifically tailored to their individual terrain type, the one that they really want to go to. The plants and stuff themselves, they won't spread, they won't propagate. Everything in here is basically kept as safe. It's just like a gallery mode. That's pretty much it. So we go to save creatures. So that's your grunch lid. This one is a parch lid. And this looks like it's in the abyss, I want to say, or it might be a trench system. So again, you can see you've got your mushrooms, you've got your anemones, you've got your different sea urchins, and you've also got your big sponges and your starfish as well. Then if we're moving over again, we can see we've got a barbma. And this is basically in the beach. And you've got like your kelp, your seagrass, and all of that. And that's basically it. You can grow this as you wish. You can actually change your terrain. You can add, or you can take away different bits and pieces. You can get things like scallops and banded tulip shells and cockles and everything like that. Everything here is it's like a sandbox. So you've got everything that you'd ever need in order to build your perfect biome. That's it. In terms of the creatures that you can get, though, you can only use your save creatures. That's all you can do to add these in. Or you can download them as well. To our existing worlds, yeah, there's a couple of worlds that were already there. Let's try the alien one. We'll go head into this one. We'll load in. Okay, so this is your alien world. So these worlds are basically pre-generated, I want to say. I'm pretty sure this is a whale. A mertom. I have no idea what it could be. But you can see, I mean, these worlds come packaged with the overall game itself. And you can just see here your life cycle, physics, symmetry, everything like this. There is so much more to the game than I've already unlocked. So if you are interested, there's more stuff to do. There's always stuff to do. We've seen everything, but let's talk about criticisms. So I do like Ecosystem, and I think that it is very impressive. There's a lot of features, and I think that the game works very well to display realistic creature evolution and ecosystem growth as well. I'm not convinced that some consumers will see it as anything more than a curiosity, and it may be something that only occasionally gets played unless you're really dedicated to it. So it does great things to showcase game features and mechanics, and I think that these mechanics could be used in other games as a basis for like entity generation and interaction. Like most sandbox games, if you don't go into the game with a clear and defined interest in what the game offers, then it probably won't be for you. I do want to stress that I like it, and by and large, I've enjoyed myself playing it. But the most enjoyment that I've had has been right at the very start of the simulation, and about 2 hours later after seeing what's happened and kind of dealing with like a mature ecosystem. I think there is a middle ground where the game kind of dips just a little bit, but that's personally, that's just my thought, and this is kind of like a first impression of what I've got. So I think there is some viability for the engine as an educational tool as well, and I think it could perform well to help develop an understanding and interest in marine biology. Altogether, I'm the sort of person that enjoys this game, and I could recommend it. So that's it, guys. This is Ecosystem, an out of early access game published by Slug Disco Studios, developed by Tom Johnson, available to buy on Steam right now for £15.49 on Epic Games for $15.99 or your local equivalent. My name has been Pure Ben. If you like the video, it helped discoverability if you like the video, and left a comment. Alternatively, the dislike button is also there as well. If you're interested in seeing more, then subscribing is a great way to help the channel out. Thanks for watching.